Last time on Leica Dragon Sphere Zero, explosions happened, and we are starting to transition into the third act of Majima's story. Following the van explosion, Makoto is missing in action, and Majima is held captive. He's treated to the business end of a baseball bat for a change as a battered and angry Sagawa tortures him. Sagawa grants Majima a stay of execution, since Majima is likely the only person able to get information regarding Makoto's whereabouts from a difficult source, Nishitani. Majima battles his way through an underground/underwater bloodsport arena to earn the trust of a dirty cop by the name of Billiken, who leads Majima to Nishitani's home away from home in the jail cell.
What?
While he's unambiguously a murderer, Nishitani doesn't kill without purpose, as Billiken explains the criminal childhood that ultimately led up to Nishitani slaying a murder suspect, leaving us with an uncomfortable thought about what circumstances could justify acting like a monster. After another fight, Nishitani and Majima get along much better and turn out to be fast friends. The depth of Makoto's situation becomes clear. Turns out, Makoto is the unlucky girl at the center of a conflict we've mostly been hearing about during Kiryu's half of the story. Various Yakuza family patriarchs and factions are vying for an enormous financial stake in the Tojo clan by securing one of the only undeveloped pieces of land in Kamurocho, called the Empty Lot. Makoto appears to be connected to the deed in some way, and every Yakuza with an appetite for ascension wants to get their hands on it by any means necessary, as it could gain so much money from a government land development plan that the owner of the lot could possibly assume control of the entire clan as an autocrat. According to Nishitani, Makoto likely ended up in the hands of the Nikkyo Consortium, a clandestine Yakuza black ops organization that helps manage the internal power struggles of the clan. The man who took her from the scene of the van blast was their president, Masaru Serra. Nishitani provides the location of the consortium's base of operations, a brothel known as the Benton Inn. I love how not subtle this is. In the Camellia Grove red light district outside Sotenbori, and he's eager to come along to assist Majima. However, betrayal by the guard ends Nishitani and Billiken's brief roles in the story. Despite tallying several mortal bullet wounds, Nishitani's animalistic determination and courage in the face of certain death means he's still standing, teeth clenched and bearing down on the guard to avenge himself in a final act of defiance that leaves a lasting impression on Majima. Apart from the erection jokes, Majima briefly finds a kindred spirit in Nishitani, someone who, despite his dark nature and history, appreciates a sense of responsibility and places similar value on the thrill of Yakuza life, a side of himself Majima is beginning to embrace by exhibiting mannerisms not unlike Nishitani's when he cuts loose in battle. Some of the moves Nishitani used against Majima in his two boss fights are echoed in Majima's own special attacks with blades. The secret fourth combat style, Mad Dog, fully embraces this influence as Majima blends together all three of his combat styles: dirty street fighting tactics mixed with expert weapon handling and acrobatic movement, unified by the gleeful and confident attitude of a Yakuza having the time of his life. Majima hurries to rescue Makoto alone, but is intercepted by Sagawa. Despite drawing suspicion initially, he clears Majima to leave for the Grove, and his raid on the Benton Inn goes smoothly. Though it's hard to see what's black ops about the Nikkyo Consortium occasionally dressing their guards in geisha outfits. On the roof, Majima encounters Makoto's kidnapper and president of the consortium, Serra. After getting the customary boss fight greeting out of the way, Serra explains his intentions of securing the deed to the empty lot without any harm coming to Makoto, and without letting it destabilize the power structure of the Tojo clan. He reveals that Makoto is under the protection of one Kazuma Kiryu, but a bullet in the back cuts further explanation from Serra off. Sagawa, his timing impeccably inconvenient as always, approves Majima to leave Sotenbori entirely on the condition of keeping Sagawa in tow. Hot on Makoto's trail, Majima's visit to Kamurocho puts him across the table from his old boss, Shimano. As his former bosses explain themselves, Majima realizes that the past few days have all been part of a very deliberate ploy by Shimano, conspiring with the outside source of the Omi Alliance in order to advance up the Tojo clan ladder.
何？どういう意味ですか？
The process of not only refusing to kill Makoto, but also earning her trust, was simply Majima behaving as his handlers expected up to the point of the ill-fated attempt to escape Sotenbori.
わしはお前以上にお前っちゅう男をよーしとるんや。
Shimano intended for Majima to be entrusted with the deed, so he may in turn have traded it back to Shimano.
それさえうまくやったらお前登場界に戻したるわ。女もお前の好きにしたらええ。
Placing Shimano in striking range at the position of Tojo clan chairman, and one further bolstered in power by an outside faction. Being the only person in the room who is actually concerned with Makoto's safety beyond the status of the deed, Majima ends up fighting some friends of Kiryu to discover Makoto's location, and it's not too long a search.
Makoto?
Let's talk about our leading lady for a minute.
あなたにはまた会えると思ってた。
As she explained to Kiryu, she came to Japan in search of her long-lost brother, left alone in the world following her mother's suicide. She was kidnapped while working as a hostess, and the terror of the experience ensured that she never forgot the man who sold her, Oda.
動くな、Kiryu.
She escaped him once again while under Kiryu's protection in Kamurocho, though with the help of a little gift from Sarah, she got her pound of flesh this time. It's been a rough few days. She's ironically been under the protection of a man sent to kill her. But at the rate that terrible things have kept happening at a rate of about 1.5 traumatizing events per day, she still doesn't know Majima's name, or whether he's even alive. Lee, the man who treated her like a daughter, gave his life protecting her, and it turns out that the mysterious Tachibana whom Kiryu had been working for throughout the game was in fact Makoto's missing brother, and his death at the hands of the scheming Dojima lieutenants denied her a reunion with the only family she had left. This tragedy brought with it a blessing, her sight's coming back.
あなたがそこにいるってことくらいは見える。
Her independence grows with it, and now she's vengefully angry as well as nouveau riche. When Majima finally catches up to her at the empty lot, she makes him an offer, 1 billion yen, in exchange for the heads of Kuze, Awano, and Shibasawa, an offer he declines. Majima does as his handlers instructed him in Kamurocho, imploring her to trade the land to Shimano and free herself of the deed that's made her a wanted woman.
せやからそいつに会うて土地手放したらもう誰にも狙われんようになる。
Not so easily dissuaded, she tricks Majima in order to act on her own, but leaves a message for him in case he changes his mind.
俺を呼んどるんや。せやからお前らをここによこした。はあ?
Makoto attempts to enact her plan by going directly to Dojima himself, while Majima struggles to catch up to her thanks to the interference of some Yakuza assassins. Makoto makes her offer to the patriarch.
あなたの手下の首を3つ。それが殻の1つをお譲りする条件です。
But Dojima alters the deal.
I am altering the deal.
After all, he only needs to take the deed away from Makoto, and then it's just a matter of silencing her. In Retribution, the legend of the Mad Dog is born as Majima takes on a small army of well-equipped Dojima goons, and he wins. Though her injury seems grave, Makoto is still breathing. As she disappears behind the hospital doors for emergency surgery, Majima vows to carry out her vengeance himself.
お前の望みを俺が叶えとるから。せやから頼む。
With nothing left to lose, the unchained Mad Dog launches a one-man assault on Dojima headquarters to hunt down the Patriarch and his assassin.
ちまちま増えてきよって。そんなんで俺は止まらへんぞ。
He viciously battles his way up the building floor by bloody floor against the last lines of the family's defense, and once he runs out of soldiers to punch, he encounters a face familiar to us. Hiroki Awano has more exchanges with Kiryu, but it's with Majima that we'll see Awano for who he is beyond his materialistic hedonist facade. Awano is familiar with Majima's storied past and expresses curiosity as to why someone who's had such a tumultuous career isn't living more carefully, to which Majima retorts that to be Yakuza is to surrender any notion of safety and comfort. He rejects Awano's assertion that money is a form of power the Yakuza must embrace, criticizing the lieutenant for allowing himself to be consumed by excess and greed. Naturally, off come the shirts. Awano recalls the reason he joined the Yakuza in the first place: the joy he takes in beating on another guy's face. It's the simple pleasures, you know. The Dojima family's resident extortion specialist has a pretty simple tattoo, but it's worth briefly mentioning. It's a depiction of the Japanese folk hero Momotaro, a great warrior who was purportedly birthed from a peach. Yeah, that's just what it says, don't ask. In his youth, he traveled to the demon-infested island of Onigashima in order to protect the surrounding areas from its dangerous inhabitants. It's the spirit of willingly walking into the jaws of death that Majima reawakens in Awano during their duel, now back in touch with his warrior's soul after burying it for years under a lavish lifestyle. He's clearly sobered by the beatdown when he laments some aspects of his career, and that he wasn't more like Majima earlier in life. Sharing the moment of clarity, Majima thinks back over the last few days and the men he's come to admire. Lee took his deep personal pain along with skills drawn from a dark history, and instead of succumbing to it, he ultimately channeled it into a noble and worthy life spent healing and protecting people, especially the ones he loved. Man or monster, Nishitani lived as his own master, walking through life on a knife edge and marching towards death when it came for him without fear or regret. These are the ideals Majima has always held high, a perspective reinforced by seeing these values made manifest, and he seeks to embody it himself now that he knows what, or rather who, his philosophy resembles.
俺の周りにはバカに生きてバカに死んでった男たちがおった。そいつらのくだらん生き方が俺は男の最高の生き様やと気がついたんや。
Alright folks, final boss. Dojima's Chinese Frankenstein assassin, Lao Guai, cuts the bonding moment short with a silenced pistol. Awano, inspired by Majima's example and the stories he's shared, puts himself between the bullets and the younger Yakuza. He still has the strength to berate Lao Guai for rudely interrupting a serious bonding conversation. Awano meets his end at needlepoint, and now Majima gets to settle his score with Makoto's shooter.
そこにいる男は体力で一番金がかかる殺し屋だ。俺は誰だろうが好きにやれる。
Lao Guai is in many ways the ideal final boss for a story like Majima's. He's the dark reflection of who Majima could have chosen to be, a dispassionate murderer who simply does whatever he's told. Lao's features are twisted and his age is unclear, as if his evil work has gradually warped his appearance to match. His movement is feral and uncanny, leaping off walls and employing acrobatic martial arts, as well as employing similar underhanded tactics to Majima when he tries to gouge out his remaining eye. Our eye-patched Avenger prevails in the end.
おとなしく待っとれや。こっちはもうすぐ済む。
But he's stopped from finishing off Lao Guai and Dojima by the surprise arrival of a crutch-toting Masaru Sera. He's a little worse for wear, but he manages to dissuade Majima from giving in to his rage, and instead gives him the goodish news. Makoto's alive, but comatose. With the deed holder out of commission, Sera had the deed signed in his own name, rendering the empty lot plot, say that 5 times fast, dead in the water.
マジマ、まだ片付いてないことがある。
With Sera's gun in hand, Majima is sent back to Kamurocho on behalf of the Tojo clan to demand that his old boss, Shimano, take responsibility for his collusion with the Omi alliance in the power grab for the lot. This order isn't very explicitly worded, so Majima senses an opportunity. He instead provides Shimano the choice of what to do with the gun meant to kill him. Shimano shrewdly preserves himself by executing the Omi liaison, ending his gambit and his relationship with the Kansai region with a bang. In light of Majima's recent experiences and the scene that just unfolded, his debt is held fulfilled, and Shimano welcomes him back into the Yakuza. His goal at last completed, Majima thinks on how he'll face the future that only days ago he wasn't sure he would see. Alright everybody, it's epilogue time. An unspecified length of time later, Majima is paying Sagawa a visit to show off his flamboyant new look.
なんだそのへんてこなジャケットは。
Aside from Majima now accurately reflecting his future self, it's clear he's in the middle of making a pronounced change. You might say he'd recently shed his skin and he's getting used to a fresh set of scales. The instrumental running in the background is delicate and warm, suggesting the unspoken sentiment of the moment.
関西で暴れたい時は連絡よこせ。そんなもんいらん。できることならもうあんたとは死ぬまで会わんでいたいもんや。確かにな。
Despite all they've done to each other, both men came through their experiences with great respect for the uncommon willpower they both demonstrated. They shared one more cigarette before Majima bids Sagawa a surprisingly earnest and respectful farewell.
大きにやで、佐賀。は？何言ってんだお前。
Han is a Kansai dialect variant on the San honorific, and proper honorifics are rare from Majima. Majima looks back one last time, and he makes a promise.
真島五郎っちゅう男の生き方に。
Sagawa's answer is as cool as ever.
好きにしろ。
This is the last time they will see each other.
あの世で待ってるぜ、真島ちゃん。
Later, a couple Yakuza are harassing some women on the street, and the particularly outspoken woman is someone we know.
やめて。
Break out the confetti, Makoto survived her ordeal, her sight has recovered completely, and she's not taking anyone's crap these days. The Yakuza relent when their boss arrives.
兄貴。
Majima's been moving up the chain of command. He remains silent and disciplines his men.
天下のマジ。
Harshly, he quietly endures the realization that Makoto doesn't recognize him before Makoto's doctor, a man named Tateyama, arrives to assist her. Immediately, he tries to stand up to Majima, who takes him aside and inquires as to the nature of their relationship.
惚れとんのか。何？そのげんこつがそう言うとる。
Sure enough, Tateyama has become more than a little smitten with her, but he's been withholding his feelings, planning to reveal them after her recovery is complete. A hard stare from Majima accompanies a solemn request.
けじめつけてくれや。俺のためにも。あんたの？
Ensuring that Makoto is well taken care of by a good man who loves her. With the altercation over, Makoto remains puzzled about what was so familiar about the strange Yakuza who wouldn't speak to her. She watches the somber Yakuza slowly disappear into the crowd, wondering what the sadness in his eye meant. Sometime later, she visits her brother's burial site at the empty lot.
全部終わったよ。もう。
Lamenting that she didn't get the opportunity to thank all the people who had kept her safe and provided her with the chance to live a normal life. In particular, she wishes she could thank the only one whose name she never learned and regrets that all she can remember about him is his shadowy outline. She's interrupted by delicate musical notes that she recognizes coming from the burial mound. Under the dirt is a cloth wrapping, her old watch gently tucked within. She still can't thank him, but her friend is still out there, looking out for her. In another place, on another night, in another life entirely, Goro Majima wanders the streets of Kamurocho, stopping suddenly to see a large, imposing man in a new gray suit. He seems to recognize him, and the first notes of Receive You begin to play. There's just one thing left to say.
Yo. Kiryu-chan!